You're watching the Letterman podcast with Mike Chisholm, endorsed by the Hello Deli.
Yeah.
La la la.
Welcome once again to the Letterman podcast. My name is Mike Chisholm. I'm stoked we're getting two in a row here. I wasn't sure if last week's episode was going to be our last one for a while, but the universe kind of opened up, and I've still got another episode that's in the can with Steve Weiner that I've got to do some editing to. That'll come out, so that one's going to come out as well. Hopefully, we can string together a few weeks in a row again, and maybe get back to the weekly schedule. I'm not sure. Rupert Jee, Irene Hoffman, and Steve Young are our guests today. We've got an amazing conversation that centers around Steve's one-man show that he did at the Caveat Theater in New York on Sunday. Great. I'm so grateful to reconnect with my friends, and I need it. Like, the reason we've been unpredictable lately. Life has been unpredictable lately. My wife and I last episode talked about this. My father's going through dementia, has been hospitalized, will most likely be institutionalized if the hospital, or he may stay in the hospital for the rest of his days. We're not sure yet. That's all up in the air. And going through the unique set of circumstances that we're going through right now have been harrowing, to say the least. Since releasing last week's episode, I've been feeling a lot of feelings, a lot of different feelings throughout this process. One thing I haven't felt is alone, and I was blown away by how many people reached out. Staffers, which is still weird for me, of the show, which but also even probably more confounding, people who are fans of this show, people who enjoy this show. Thank you for reaching out, and many have told me their stories. I believe that podcasting has grown into the medium that it is, because there's a huge hunger for people to be part of long form, whether they're receiving it, whether they're part of the conversations, producing it and releasing it. Long form is one of those things where, people reached out to me this last week and they told me their stories about having a family member go through what my dad's going through or something similar, and what they learned and how they got through it and what they went through. And I think, boy, do they help. I really, really believe that stories and us getting our stuff out there is a reflection for others. I certainly have used many of people's stories for reflections onto my own life. And so I just want to say thank you for that. We definitely start the show where Rupert and Irene are asking me about dad and how things are going and whatnot. And I get into it with them a little bit, partially because Irene, who is a gigantic enthusiast of Steve Young, she loves him. I don't know that she would leave Rupert for him, but she would certainly consider it, or ask them to consider an arrangement anyway. That's how much she appreciates Steve Young. She didn't know Steve was coming on the show. And she thought it was just going to be her, Rupert, and I. We were just going to talk about, the show that they went to. They went to see Steve's show live on Sunday, and she thought that's all it was going to be. And at some point, Steve jumps in, and you'll see it. The viewers will see it, because he just kind of comes in quietly, and Irene is just singing his praises. We had finished talking about my dad by that point, and she's just singing his praises. And now suddenly Steve Young joins the conversation, and we get to talk about his journey and his process of going from, the writer on the show, Bathtubs Over Broadway, of course, world-class documentary that was spawned literally from a Late Show with David Letterman bit, or Late Night with David Letterman bit, I guess, Dave's video collection. And all of these little pieces of things that he has been doing, these pieces of creativity, and Sunday's show was a through line as to how these things can come together and be part of something bigger. The show was so good. It's available on video on demand still. We'll put up links if we have them. I know in the Letterman Facebook group, if you look, you'll see us talking a lot about Steve Young show, and you can click the link, and the video on demand, it's temporarily available. But I believe this is the first of many performance ventures for Steve Young in this along this direction, and I'm so happy for him. I just want to say thank you very much to everybody out there again. I'm extremely grateful. I'm grateful that we're presenting another episode here. This one and the one with Steve Weiner that we have edited. I've got to edit it, and I'll get that one out as well. Hey, maybe we can still keep this thing going weekly or semi-weekly. I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but I do know that we have a new episode of the Letterman podcast. I hope you enjoy it.
Hey, Mike.
How's it going?
Oh, great.
Stop tapping.
It's good to see both of you. It's very good. Oh man, it's so weird. Like we're just spending time setting up here, and now I'm just looking at you, and it's like, oh, I miss my friends. I miss you guys so much.
We miss you too. And maybe off camera, we'll catch up on how things are going.
You know what? We can do it on camera. I'll tell you this. Last week, Candy and I released an episode where we kind of talked about what I'm going through and some of the things that our family's going through right now. And I am blown away by the amount of people who have reached out and told me stories of their own where they have gone through with a relative with dementia. Staffers have reached out to me, and I've like that blew me away. I just appreciate everybody who is said these. It's weird. It's a new normal, and then the new normal keeps changing. Like the night my dad was first admitted, and you sort of think, okay, here's going to be some consistency, and then he gets moved over to this new ward, and okay, we think there's going to be some consistency, but then behaviors change and medications change, and there's no real footing and consistency, and I think that's one of the hardest parts. But I really appreciate you guys asking. Yeah, dad's in the hospital, dementia. We're going to see him every day when we can. My mom and I are kind of taking shifts. My sister came in from Vancouver last week to see him, and it's a new normal, and
Yeah,
it's weird.
yeah, it is.
Well, Mike, if there's anything we can do to help, just feel free to ask. Okay.
You already have, and I appreciate that. And just even, having a place where I can talk about it. There's a lot of people who live lives of quiet desperation and they don't really talk about it, and that's really, really tough. I mean, as you know, Rupert, it's a marathon that you're running whether you want to run it or not, right? It's just
And
and
it
you
wears
just,
you down. It wears you down.
yeah. But at the same time, I think it's also making us all stronger. It's an excuse for me to see my dad every single day, which I didn't do up to this point. And yes, he's in this world of his own, and I mean, he's seeing things all the time. Like it's weird. Like it's almost like he's living in Alice in Wonderland. Like if he's talking to you guys right now, he'll be talking to you, and then he'll look up at the Joe Namath jersey, and the 12 will start to do things, and it'll evolve into a squirrel will run across it or something, and that's what he sees. His reality is really, really kind of crazy, but he's got a good disposition,
Right.
which
Does
I'm
he
very grateful for.
now? Does he still recognize you?
Yeah, like I'll come in and he won't see me there, and he'll be either fiddling with his hands or be doing stuff or whatever, and I'll say, "Hey, Dad," and he'll look at me and he'll smile at me,
Right.
and I'm like, "Yeah, he is like I'm familiar, and he knows instinctually I'm safe, and that's where that smile is coming from." But one thing with people with dementia is they cover, and my dad's been covering for a long time, right? Like he would prolong something, he'd make a joke, he would do something till he kind of figured out his situation, and we can kind of tell when he's doing that. And now it's basically the entire time he's trying to figure things out. He's trying to kind of stall for time to figure out who I am, but he does recognize us from time to time for sure. Um, yeah, it's weird. It's really, really weird.
How old is he?
He's only 73.
Yeah.
Oh.
But
Mother has had it now for over 16 years,
yeah.
Alzheimer's, but um, hers is an entirely different form than what you're describing. But what triggered my comment is that my mother is the absolute most cheerful
Yeah.
Alzheimer's patient. However, of course, it's progressed. And in the beginning, she would allow me to make jokes about her repeated question.
Yeah.
The question would get repeated, and I said, "Well, I answered it 20 seconds ago, but I'll be glad to answer it for you again." And I'll make a joke and she'll laugh. Or I would say, "Mom, I'm going to go in the bathroom and have a conversation with my Colgate Optic White toothpaste because I'm getting a little better feedback from it than you," and crack up. it would crack her up instead of being a cranky person.
Yep.
Because my principal's mother was cranky and very defensive, and
Yeah. Irene's mother still has a really good sense of humor, and she could still carry on the conversation.
yes, and
But she's got it still. She has a very happy demeanor to her when she sees us.
right,
Yep.
Dementia affects people differently.
Right.
And that's one thing I learned. And yeah,
Definitely.
it's more rowdy that would be the most difficult to deal with.
Mom is getting
Yeah.
a little rowdier, and
Is she?
she will say things like, "Tell those kids in the next room to keep it down. They're too loud, and there's
Yeah.
no next room."
My dad will do that as well. We'll be in the room, and he's got his own room now, because well, if my dad does get agitated, the temper flares, and oh my gosh, it's bad. So suddenly I came in one day and realized, oh my goodness, you've got your own room, Dad. Look at that. How did that happen? And he just sits there looking at me cheerfully, like what you're talking about. He's mostly cheerful. I think what happens is if he's walking around the ward, and a nurse or a care aide tries to get him to do something he doesn't necessarily want to do in that moment, I think that's when the static shows up. But I'll be in his room and he'll be looking, and suddenly he'll be looking off to the door, and I'm like, "What's going on, Dad?" He goes, "Oh yeah, all the people are coming in now."
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no people, right? It's the same. My dad has the same dementia that Robert Williams had. It's called
Oh.
Lewy body dementia, and you're right. Like, it's such a nuanced thing, and you don't know you're part of this club until you get into this club, and then you realize that this club has a whole bunch of different
Yeah.
facets to it, and learning it as we go, and um to both of you for Irene, with your mom, who's you've got your challenges with family and all of that sort of stuff, but she's still 16 years, my gosh. And then Rupert, I mean, we're in that sandwich generation where we're taking care of our parents. We want to take care of our kids too. For me, I want to take care of my grandkid, and it's tough. And I just want to throw out there to everybody out there who's got a struggle going on with family members and whatnot. And I've certainly a bunch of people have written into me since last week. I was kind of blown away by that. For the people who are kind of running these silent races, just know that you're not alone. And if ever you need to talk about it or whatever event, reach out. Please do reach out. Just like we're doing here. So I appreciate you guys for asking, and thank you so much, Rupert. Thank you for your words along the way too, and you've been an inspiration to me, because I know the race that you ran, and I just appreciate it very, very, very much. I use those things as sources of strength, and Candy appreciates it too. So and Candy says hi to both of you. She loves you both very much.
We love
Yeah.
the candy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some happier stuff. You guys just went and hung out with Steve Young.
Yes, it was a great show.
I'm so happy for him as he's trying to explore this performer side of him, and watching it. I was so grateful to see it live streamed, because I texted, oh, there's Irene, you got a pair of glasses. You never got a medal though, did you?
I
No,
did
he
not.
didn't.
The whole clump went to the last person, just a clump. But you were texting me, and again, because I'm on the outskirts of all of this technology stuff, I didn't know it was being live streamed, and you were texting me and saying, "I can hear your cackle," or "I can hear you."
I didn't say cackle. I said I could hear your laugh, and it made me so happy.
And I said, how can Mike hear my laughing? And then I realized it was being streamed live. So it was remarkable. First of all, I migrate to low key personalities because I'm not. And I told Steve early on, after bathtubs and seeing it, and I told him I will not tell him the total number of times I've seen it, because I'll chase him away as she's nuts. But but when we started communicating, I said 15 years ago I would have never said a word to you, and he said, "Why?" I said, "Because you're smart, you're
Uh-huh.
a graduate, and I'm never gonna kind of be at that maybe even conversational level." And I said, "But I'm too old now to care." So, and then that broke the ice.
Um,
Too old to be intimidated.
well, it was great to see the joy that you had. Put the glasses back on again, Irene.
I was so happy. And it says industrial musicals.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and then it says steveyoungworld.com on the sides.
Uh-huh.
And when he gave them to me, he said, "You're now in the super fan club." I was so thrilled. I was so thrilled to have them. And his performance, his songs, and he had on occasion sent me a few songs, like has sent you,
Oh yeah. Yep.
and of course I loved them immediately. And then he's got some on YouTube, which I told him. He said something to me like, "Well, you may hear something tonight that you've heard before." And I said, "Steve, I watch your songs on YouTube over and over again.
Yeah.
Again, the number of times I've seen bathtubs is going to remain secret, but I don't mind. I laugh every single time and enjoy that. He's a really good musician. I mean, for someone who said that somewhere along the line, maybe on your podcast, about, starting to take it seriously a little bit later, because he had played, taken lessons, but his performance and his style and his swagger and his theatrical, timing, I was super impressed, and the audience was too. And he had a full house.
I'm
And
so glad to hear that. Yeah, that's the one thing with the live stream. I wasn't exactly sure how the big you couldn't tell the scale of the theater and what it was. It seemed like an art house. It just seemed like it seemed intimate, but whenever people would applaud or laugh or whatever, there was an audience there, but there was no scale to it. But I did hear your laugh. Okay, Irene, you guys are on the iPhone. You and Rupert are on the iPhone right now, so you don't have the gallery view of things. It's funny, the idea of what people might think if you're talking about them behind their back and you don't know that they're even there. Steve Young, do you have anything to say about what Irene has just said about you?
I didn't hear all of it, but I came in a few minutes ago at Mike's invitation. I do want to stress that I have not hacked into the system as a hostile intruder. I was invited. Thank you for the glasses. They look great on you. Yes, Irene is full of lovely compliments, and it's been very heartwarming uh, for this group of people to give me the kind of encouragement that you know a guy who's of a certain age trying to do new things. I still have this combination of waspy reticence and feeling like I don't have any standing to get up in front of people and do music. But yes, both of you know the song "You're Welcome, Germans," which got its public debut the other day. And I realized after the show that that song contains a crystallized explanation of my life philosophy right now, which
Yeah.
when I say, yes, I'm experimenting with hip hop beats. I worry that I'm way in over my head, but screw it, we're all just gonna die anyway. And that is kind of what is propelling me now.
well,
Um,
I, I wanted to say something that, first of all, there's a line in that song that early on Steve had sent me, maybe an initial little rundown of it. And I told him that that line stuck with me so long. And at my house, I gut laugh. Then I go to Greece, and the church bells are ringing, and I'm feeling a little guilty because they ring. That's your alarm clock. Like, get ready, get up. You're supposed to go. And the little village, kind of, you can see them walking past my house. But I'm drinking my coffee instead on the veranda, and while those bells are ringing, I'm having my coffee, and the line, and to me, I didn't know the words verbatim, but it was, I'm, I've got a sympathy card that I'd like to send, but darn it, I only have muscle car stamps to choose from. And the laughter, I mean, the cup in my hand almost spilled my coffee because that line sticks with me. And then when I told Steve that, he said, it's always a mystery to me what resonates with a person to laugh at something I might have written. Well, forget it. A sympathy card, you're going to send it, but damn it, there's only our stamps to choose.
It's so, Irene, I got goosebumps as you just said that, because there was a moment, and I forget if it was it might have been when I was out for Shecky's memorial, where I was hanging out with Steve in his apartment, and he played that song for me. And I want to ask about, because my memory of that song is different than the one that was performed. Like, you've evolved that song, right, Steve? I think.
I don't remember what version you heard, but I think it by the time I was willing to let anyone hear it, I think it had solidified to pretty much the status in. There could have been small changes in
Okay, okay, but I remembered it a little bit less electronic, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But that line, you realizing that feeling, you're realizing that you only have the stamps with muscle cars on it. I was literally on my side, like Steve can vouch for it. I was on my side laughing on his couch, like I was bent over laughing. That line there just nailed me, and it nailed me again watching you perform it. I was so happy. I was so happy for you. I was so happy it was an ensemble. I wasn't expecting that part of it, Steve. Like, you guys were a troupe with a U. You really were. You all played so well together, and it felt like you had some people in your life who kind of gelled together to help you do this. The show was awesome. Your banter was awesome. Your everything about it was so good, and I'm so curious as to how much of it was you kind of just being you and letting go that screw it, we're all gonna die. I'm just gonna let go. In between the songs, all of that kind of stuff, versus how much of it was actually written and scripted, and how much was there any deviation from what you planned, or was it pretty much you just kind of rolled with it?
very little improv there. I wanted to go out giving myself every possible level of confidence, but I'd worked with this producer, Reed Kavner, on he has various kinds of shows he produces and presents, and I was a small part of something he had last year, and the things have gone well when I've tried to help out at other people's events, and the owner of that space said to me afterwards, "Oh, would you be interested in doing your own show sometime?" And I said, "Well, the universe is calling my bluff. Apparently, I'm starting to accumulate such a pile of weird material, some of which is released, much of which is not. But I didn't know, like, how do you think about a show? I don't want to just get up in front of people and say, oh, here's another song. Oh, here's not." And talking to Reed, eventually this idea emerged that I'm an alternate universe version of myself in which I'm the world's most successful, iconic, beloved superstar on the planet. And I've got every award, and during the show, I win more and more awards. To me, it's kind of a way of tongue-in-cheek commenting on the fact that I have never been motivated by awards or accolades or public status or any of that. I always found going to the Emmys puzzling after the first time I went, and the novelty wore off. And so I consciously or subconsciously, I found that this was a way to be a weird alternate version of myself and do all the songs and bits that I want to do, but also have this shape to it and this structure. And this was a beta test, and I've already talked to some friends who are knowledgeable about such things who've given me some notes about, oh, this was good. This part you might want to rethink. I don't know what future it has, but to me, it was just putting my toe in the water of a different kind of stream because I'm used to doing the industrial musical stuff. Have I talked for over an hour now? I'm sorry. This was not my
No, but something that was lovely about even using that theme is that, and you said it was scripted and rehearsed, and although I did overhear somebody say that you hadn't done the two parts, rehearsed the two parts together, I could have heard it incorrectly, but you went very fluidly from the one piece to the next piece, the song. And Mike, I was hoping that you picked up on the wonderful AI spellings of "it's okay if you have two O's in Broadway," or I can't, again, without seeing it. It just, that part was hysterical as well, but it seemed to glue this whole idea along so that it wasn't Steve saying, and now for my next song.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was none of that.
No.
There was none of that. I loved the cool thing about it is you got to include, it's so weird, like you say, the universe is calling your bluff and making you kind of make something cohesive out of this. Watching the material that you've created, Steve, and it's so great to kind of be in the front row and watch the process of this happening. You've got the shorts, and I'm curious about that part. The shorts that you do are so good. They're so good for social media. They're so good for, like, in today's day and age. It's, the quick joke that's funny. And then you go and do it in a live setting where you got the video playing behind you and you sync it up. Was that difficult? Was that difficult trying to recreate what you created in, I assume you use iMovie or something like that, whatever it is that you use to put it all together. Doing it live is a different animal. Was there a learning curve to that?
A little bit, and I had to practice with Reed, the producer, who had my laptop with the keynote presentation on it. So there are like 60 slides, and you click to the next one and start the next video and all that. The trickiest one that actually required split-second timing was the Wordle song, Dance Daddy, where I had to exactly hit each line as each visual was coming up.
This song is called Dance Daddy, and it was inspired by some of the screenshots I've taken while working on the Wordle. I'm a dance daddy, taking a bliss blimp ride. Yeah, I'm drunk funny, and I'm tepid proud inside. I'm a dance daddy, bulge bugle play your tune. Yeah, I'm drunk funny, feeling like a drunk prune.
What we decided to do that worked out well was I played guitar live and I sang live, but there was a built-in rhythm track on the video that kept me locked on to the timing.
Yep.
And once I got used to that and rehearsed that for a while, I thought, okay, we'll be all right with that. But that would have been very difficult otherwise.
Well, I'm glad we're getting this out here right now, because there's going to be a small but loud contingent of people who are going to start crying, lip syncing. It was lip synced. And no, it was not lip synced. He had a guide track, but that was all, everybody. And there's really nothing else to say about it. Please, stop pelting us with the rocks and garbage.
Mm-hmm.
It was not lip synced. Oh. Mm-mm.
There were some of the Nashville tracks that were the fully produced Nashville musical magic, but done karaoke style, where
Yeah.
my vocal was left off and I filled that in live and added some insignificant guitar. But as I said at one point in the presentation, those geniuses down there, they don't need me to help them play guitar. I should not bring a guitar within 50 miles of Nashville.
I don't think that's true. But Mike, are you noting the man who's joining us and speaking, and not this gentleman? Are you taking visual note of our Steve Young right now?
Yeah. Why? To which are you referring? But yes, I am.
The Steve Young sitting on a sofa comfortably.
Uh-huh.
And it looks like I'm wearing a conical hat.
Oh. Okay, because
The cone's supposed to go around your neck, Steve.
he had to mess it up with the conical cap because that man that's sitting on the sofa right now speaking to us, that wasn't the man on stage.
Well, okay, so that's what I was going to ask. Irene alluded to it. Actually, it might have been before you actually got on the call. All my friends in the pro wrestling business, they talk about, and I've got friends of every level of success, from the indie of the indie all the way to the very, very top. One of the things that seems to be universal is the sentiment that when we get out to perform, when we go out in front of the curtain or out of the high school gymnasium, whatever the case may be, when we go to perform, we take who we are and we just turn it up to 11. And I'm super curious, Steve, like, you might be one of the driest humans walking the planet when it comes to, disposition but your level of humor, of course, always up to 11. To become the performer, was there a trick to it? Is it just that you've done it so often with the industrial musicals that it's already old hat, or was this one different? Because it felt like it was different. It did feel like you turned it up. I'm curious as to what that was like for you in this experience.
Yeah, when I do the industrial musicals one-man show, it
Mhm.
really is me just turned up to a sort of larger vibration of on-stage presence,
Yep.
which I've somehow come into. I wouldn't have known how to do that, but it came. But for this show, the idea that I am the world's only recipient of the Emmy, the Grammy, the Oscar, the Nobel, and the
Yes.
Tony, that unlocked something where I get to be modest and humble, but it's also a sort of slightly sickening, horrifying. He doesn't know how detached he is from reality anymore. He's talking about jetting around and going to Davos and being at the Met Gala and all this stuff like it's normal. And about he's saying, "Oh, all my success. I know I've been very lucky. I just glided right to the top of every realm of human creativity. I didn't have to try that hard. I don't know. I guess some people aren't as lucky as me. There's something horrifying about that version of me, where I get to be that oblivious and just shrugging about, well, I guess some people aren't as successful as me. I don't know. Too bad.
Wait. So you kind of jumped into a character from that base,
Yeah, I was trying to walk this line where sort of relatable, like, oh, I came out of the Letterman show. I was almost 50. I didn't know what I was going to do, and I had to reinvent myself. But then the alternate universe version of, yeah, just everything I tried turned to gold. Who knows why? Just like slightly creepy, and maybe the material is good, but this alternate universe version of me, I still haven't quite figured out to what degree I'm likable. I think I'm genial, but I think there's also an undercurrent of, I don't know, something's wrong with the universe if this guy succeeded that well without trying very hard.
Yes.
Also a little pity. There's a little pity there too, I think, that shows up for us empathetic folk. Oh no, he really, kind of.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's going to help. I was talking to somebody yesterday who said you don't want to evoke any pity. You
Yeah.
got to be careful with that character.
But I didn't sense it that way at all. I did sense, knowing Steve, the other Steve,
Yeah.
the real guy. I sensed that he stepped into this character and was willing to play it to the hilt of the Steve Young sensibility of still being kind of who he is, low key.
Yeah.
But to me, it felt like a character that made it comedic. And then we were entertained with everything else. But I didn't. I was really rooting for this guy who won all these awards.
Yeah, that's good to hear. But by the end, yeah, I wouldn't say I look for pity anywhere. I would say by the end, all right, I've done all this funny stuff, but then I say, you know, I love stuff that's a weird combination of funny and serious, and I do have the serious side, and then I do my serious song, talk about, yes, even with my global fame and incredible wealth, I can have dark nights in the soul and wrestle with it through songwriting. So it's a weird triangulation of me and an unreal version of me, and it will probably continue to need to be fine-tuned, but it was interesting and slightly encouraging and slightly horrifying to me how easily I slid into that character. It's like,
Oh, oh,
yeah, yeah, it's both. Well, there's the Pulitzer Prize and the Pulitzer Prize. They're completely separate, unrelated. I have both of them.
Mike, did you because again, live streaming and all of this
Yeah.
is like talking a foreign language, but you heard the last song, which I think Steve's going to promise me that I get to get the lyrics at least. Did you hear that last song that he played?
Oh yeah, it's the whole thing.
Well, I started crying.
Aw.
I didn't film it, but wow, I love that song. I love that song.
That's a real one. And as I said when I finished that song, oh shit, just got real there for a minute, didn't it? And
Yeah.
I promised that it wouldn't happen again. But Reed, who is the very wise producer, said, think about like what's going to be the thing that people really remember and take away after all this, because you're going to have this pile of different shapes and sizes and feelings and things. But what's going to be something that people remember? And I've remembered the precept about screenwriting is people won't later remember what happened in your screenplay, but they'll remember how it made them feel.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I thought, well, maybe I got to play the big card of the When I Say Hello song, which is
Oh,
outside of most of my output in terms of its emotional nakedness. But I thought, well, go out on that limb a little bit, see what happens. By the end of the show, if people have gotten used to you and liked you, maybe they'll go on that little limb with you. So I decided to do that. But then it was time to stop and say, all right, we're going to finish up now.
yeah. But it was so good. It was good. And, um, you know, Rupert and I were heading outward on a tiny little intermission. And I look up and I'm face to face with a man standing. And I said, Bill Shaft. And he doesn't know who I am. So, but luckily, this one was near me. And then, yeah.
This one, he has a name, Irene. Come on. His name is Rupert.
Oh no! Ask Mike what his name.
She calls him root beer, and I find that endlessly sweet. I will never get used to the idea that the pet name for Rupert Jee is root beer from his brand. I love that so much.
All right, so root beer is standing there.
So okay, that got you the. So you had you ever talked to Chef before, Irene?
No. What I did was when the writers' strike way back, I would follow it. I'd go to school like at 5:30 in the morning, and I, plug in, and it was really writers kind of talking to each other. A blog, maybe, I don't know, but I would still follow it.
Yeah.
Well,
But it was weird though, because Bill started staring at Irene, and he said,
You look
"Do
familiar.
I know you from somewhere?" Yeah, you
Yeah,
look
well,
very familiar.
I said, Bill,
Gotcha.
and he said, you look, quizzically, you look familiar. But I quickly told him about, he had written an essay during the writer's strike.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really enlightening to me, and probably instinctively why I became a school teacher. And I really wanted to go into art. And I said, no, I'll really starve. But as an English teacher, I'll make a teacher paycheck.
Yep.
But the thing is that when he talked about the reality and the toughness of writing and getting into a job that's lucrative enough that you can live, I had to jump in like I always kind of do. Oh, wait, I want to say something. And so I wrote this letter, and I started off by saying, I took a government job because I knew that I felt like I could never go with the big boys, but also not knowing the reality of what writers actually do go through to get anywhere. And it was a powerful essay that he wrote, and I responded to it. But there was no one in the group who were outsiders. They were, they'd sign their names. These were all just writers writing.
Yep.
And I don't know who selected it, but I said, Bill, because of your essay and my response to it, they published it. And the one thing that might have triggered them, because these were a bunch of late show writers too.
Yep. Yep.
And I said, when I go to a show, and I didn't say how many times I'd gone, I said, when I go to a show, I want to be entertained. I don't need to know what the lighting guy is doing or the sound guy is doing or what they're doing in the control room or what the blue cards, I just want to be entertained, and I am. When I go to the Late Show with David Letterman, I want to be entertained, and I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because you're doing your jobs. You're doing the job that pays off for me. But anyway, it was much more eloquent, and I was really happy they published it. And
Well,
I
you and Chef didn't get into that when you saw him the other day, though.
very, very briefly, like
cool.
Yeah, like much less than what I just now said. And I said it was because of your letter or because of what you had written and he smiled happily. He introduced us to his niece, and he spoke with Rupert, and he did say, he said, isn't it wonderful watching Steve be Steve?
Oh, that's cool. You and Chef had a pretty good dynamic when you were at the show. I don't want to spill any tea if there wasn't, but you and I've talked a little bit. You and Chef were pretty good, pretty tight, right, Steve?
Yeah, it was interesting over the years where he had come from a very different background, much more stand-up oriented. So he had a different culture built in a way. And I was always just the little nerdy backroom writer who didn't think he had any performing DNA in him. And then that slowly changed. But
Joke's on
we
you.
often worked on the monologue together in tandem or whatever. And sort of in that trench together, got to know each other a little bit better. And yeah, it's interesting in the same way, years after high school or college, who are your high school or college classmates that are your friends? Maybe not necessarily the same ones you knew at the time. And Bill Sheft is somebody who I feel like I've become more friendly with over the past 10 years or so. And of course, I'm still friends with people like Lee and Joe and Jeremy and a bunch of the writers. But yeah, it's interesting who becomes a little more prominent over time, just the way it shakes out.
I do want to say this. He did laugh when I said I have been to the show many times. I said, but what was really a treat was after commercial break, I'd always watch you off to the side doing,
Yep.
and he laughed because definitely I probably should have mentioned something about, yeah, and I saw you picking raisins or chocolate.
Out of
Oh
the
yeah,
cookie.
the raisin cookie thing, one of my favorite.
Um, yeah, I love the dynamic of different roles of people. Like Irene, you're just talking about how, the show comes up and there's all these different things that come together for it. Steve, you're learning all of these different little things and putting them together for one man show stuff. And the performer in you is certainly coming to the forefront. It is so great to see. I want to know how it felt after the show, because the show was fantastic in it as it was. Whether or not it was you kind of, beta like you using the word beta with that show is so interesting to me, because to me it was pretty polished, ready to go. And I'm curious about the adjustments that you're wanting to make, and maybe that might not be the place to discuss that here, because
Yeah, there might
you don't
be
want to.
20 things to adjust or polish or tighten or whatever. But to me, the big question is, does this have any legs beyond a few dozen of my friends? Because I know my friends are rooting for me and they want to, oh, they're going, oh, isn't that great how he's out there doing his stuff? And oh, the songs are not bad. But people who have no idea who I am, why are they going to be induced to come to hear a guy they don't know play some songs they probably haven't heard? Is there enough critical mass there that wins over or somehow gets people into a venue? That is a huge question to me. And there's small tailwinds. Okay, yes, Letterman, Simpsons. Okay, that guy must be credible at some level,
Mhm.
but do I want to leave my own apartment and spend money and go somewhere? We
I
don't know.
would I would not I would not be rooting so vocally if I quietly felt like, yeah, it was pretty good. No,
Yeah.
no, I would not, because the reason I'm rooting so enthusiastically is because you're damn good.
Well,
Somebody,
thanks.
yeah.
And
So
I've been lucky that people along the way have helped me, like my friend John Shane in Nashville, who got me set up with those incredible recording sessions. And suddenly I have these
Yeah.
shockingly legitimate recordings. And he also got very interested in helping me with the German song and did the mix on that. So there are things that, but they're so eclectic, and it can be a great thing to not stay in a lane, but it's also going to be hard to say, oh, you should come see this guy because he does 19 different things and he's not famous for any of them, but they're all good if you bother to pay attention. I don't know. I would, I hope that this will continue to unfold in ways that I may not be able to predict. I'm right now here. I'm in Connecticut, and this evening I'm going to go to a songwriter open mic and try out some other things. So I'm just going to try to keep that momentum going. I am interested in doing this, but yeah, how do you convince the world that this is worth paying attention to?
I wish
That's
we
it's the struggle of the artist. That's just it. Like, the idea of taking art and commerce and putting them together is really a challenge. And that's what I'm saying about all these different moving parts. Like when you're a writer in a room and you just get to exercise that one gift all day, um, there's some certainty to that, which is nice. But if you look at the skill set that you are flexing or using at that point, I mean, compared to what you're doing now, there's so much more. And the thing I love about your show, Steve, is exactly what you just said. It is, I, I always liked when Dave and Paul back in the day would invoke the phrase variety show. I don't know if it was almost like there was an inside joke behind, oh, it was a great variety show or whatever. For whatever reason, that always tickled me. But this here, it's totally apt. Like the video piece that you threw to, of you talking to God and you being on hold, and the oh God, I laughed so hard. And it was such a nice, like, the show didn't, it wasn't a Weird Al show. And don't get me wrong, appreciate how Weird Al, when you go to one of his concerts, he crossed over that peak by having huge costume changes and all sorts of things to make the show not just here's another funny song, here's another funny song, here's another funny song. He does a really good job of that. You did the same thing because you would switch mediums suddenly. It would be I forget her name, but the gal who did such a great version of My Bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. Okay, you're getting all sorts of weird stimuli from that because it's a beautiful rendition of a very well written song. But then you listen to the lyrics and you're like, wait, what? Like you're hearing all that, but you also just heard Steve do the Wordle song perfectly, I might add, perfectly synced. And I think the guide track, the fact that you can do that, like if you can find ways to make it easier to go on the road and do those sorts of things, you'll be able to continue. It's a mixed media piece, because then you're throwing to this beautifully shot, conversation with you up in the mountains with God. Like, oh my gosh, that was such a wonderful thing. The intermission, even with the escalator with the
Oh yeah, the outtakes from the escalator piece. I shot a lot of footage up there, and it was so hard to decide what the selects were. I didn't get that piece done for a long time because I was so overwhelmed by. I have 75 clips that I want to put in the piece, and I finally had to. All right, I'm going to do a color coded system of definitely, possibly, maybe, and finally began to sort itself out. But yeah, I had lots of other pretty good clips, and I thought, oh, I know what I'll do with those. That people can ignore it or half look at it or whatever.
Yep.
Put some of my other instrumental tracks on it at half volume. So look at it or don't. Go to the bathroom. Go get a drink. Whatever.
It was so perfect. Like it
Yeah.
was so perfect. Like
I was seconds late for it, and you're right, Mike. But there was something else I want to kind of say. Oh, Mike, because you just mentioned his being out in this gorgeous field and talking to God and put on, and then because he's irritated because this is going to be with me for the rest of today, mind. For the rest of today, I'm going to be thinking and laughing. And he goes, "Oh Jesus! Wait till we please wait for the trans."
Yeah, transfer and call.
it was such a good payoff.
Callers are experiencing significant wait times to speak with Jesus.
All day it's gonna be with me now.
Yeah.
So when was that shot?
That was mountains of northern New Mexico in 2020 during the height of the pandemic when Dava Whiznant, Bathtubs Over Broadway director and filmmaker, said, let's try to do something. And so we shot 2 short films in New Mexico at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them have been on the film festival circuit, rattling around for several years, won a lot of prizes at different film festivals. I think Brief Survey won best comedy short at the Cleveland International Film Festival and maybe Sonoma. I don't remember, a bunch of them. But yeah, that one and the other one were sort of happy experiences, shot ultra low budget. Dava shot them with an iPhone 11 Pro.
Wow.
It was really just like a crew of 3 people,
Wow.
and including me, and we had another friend who was a drone operator and somebody else ran audio. But yeah, the star of the movie really is the mountains of New Mexico. It was incredible there.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I love that piece. And again, if this show did anything, it was reveal a lane as to what a show would look like for you, and the idea of adding all of these things together, which is your brain. Like let's face it, whether you're you think about the things that you would do for the show, and it would be, okay, this might be a desk piece of some sort, visual aids. Is it an extra? Is it all of these things that you got good at doing? A variety of different things is very evident in the show. Were there any other late show staffers or late night staffers who came to the show? Was it, I know Chef was there. Was there anybody else that was there for this one?
Alex Bully, writing colleague, was there. It was nice to see him. I know Jeremy Weiner watched from New Jersey remotely.
Nice.
Put me a very nice note afterwards about things that entertained him. the live stream is available. Well, now it'll be video on demand
Yep.
running through Sunday afternoon, April 6th. So I hope a few more people might be encouraged to take a look at it before it goes away. But yeah, I reached out to a lot of my friends and said, hey, if you're not in town, we've got this option. And so people are hopefully taking advantage of that. But to your point about the different lanes, the cut and paste movies was something I was doing before I was even involved with the Letterman show decades ago.
Yep.
And then at one point I brought it to the show and it was almost a desk piece once, and then it was set aside. But that feels like it could have been a Letterman piece. Also, the escalator thing, I can easily imagine. All right, let's turn on the camera over at Grand Central. All night we're going to be seeing things on an escalator. Pat Farmer, what do we have? Oh, we got a head of lettuce, Dave. All right, let's take a look. I can easily imagine that being a runner in the Letterman show.
Yes.
Very, very much so. The cut and paste, I was going to actually ask about that because it's funny. You resurrected it not that long ago on Facebook. You brought it up again, and people in my circle, or anyway, we were all, oh yeah, and people were. Somebody said to me, he goes, "I'm pretty sure I saw that on Letterman," and I said, I don't know that I ever saw it. It's genius. The TV guide. This is the for the listeners and the viewers, this is taking 2 or 3 TV guide description lines and putting them all together to get this amazing piece of comedy and interactive. What a genius idea. Making that part of the live show, literally making an interactive portion of the show where people could, tables, if they decided to get into it, could do that together. That was a really smart idea. Was that something that you came up with recently, or was that something you always knew would be there?
In talking with Reed about different ways to keep different kinds of energy happening, yes, walk-ons from friends
Yep.
and some video and some music, and I want to give things away and have questions to ask the audience, like who knows this or who knows that, and then give away some of the custom Steve Young EGONT Cheetos. But we thought, oh, it'd be fun if we can get people to try making some of the cut and paste movies. So I prepared the makings of 5 that I thought were pretty good and enlarged them so they wouldn't be the tiny head-hurting little things I work with. And I thought, oh, I bet we'll get a couple of volunteers who will try them. And we did. And my preparation generally guided them towards pretty much what I thought they would find, although there were some variations. But yeah, that's one of the few things that completely evades my comedy damage, because it is such a sweet, for me, combination of rigor and nonsense, in the same way that I love the bad lip reading videos that are done with such care and precision and make such way off the grid nonsense that doesn't correspond to anything human beings would ever do or say. So that's one of my last refuges in my comedy damaged state. So I love doing that project. It is addictive. It's maddening and it gives you a headache. But if I put the things out and sit down and put together 3 or 4, okay, that's good. I'm going to stop. Oh, wait a minute. What's this one? Oh, that's a good beginning. I got to find something for that one. And then another 2 hours have passed. So long stretches go by where I don't do it. And then I plunge back in and go way deep again.
Well, Mike, when you told me, when you kept texting me and you said you were encouraging me like to get involved, and I hope too scared. But what was really frustrating is when Steve genuinely was asking who might know the name. I know every freaking song. I can't remember the freaking titles.
Oh,
and
and I said, for a package of Cheetos, who can name the title of my Nashville album? And I thought, oh, there'll be half a dozen people yelling it out. There was quiet, and people sort of murmured like they weren't quite sure. They sort of remembered Heart was in it or something.
Yeah, and
I had
see,
to goose that one a little bit.
I was yelling it in my living room.
Okay.
Mike, I knew them all, but I can't remember the titles.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Otherwise, you know me. I'd be going Hey,
Yeah, well, and at one point he said, "Okay, if there are any volunteers," and I just texted you immediately, "Get up there! Like, what are you doing?"
no, I'd say
I wanted to be in that room so badly.
Yeah.
Rupert,
Yes.
I'm gonna say this as respectfully as possible. Quiet, especially when Irene's in the room.
Yeah, she does all the talking. That's fine with me.
Um, I know that every once in a while you get to go out and you get to see some of these things that touched your life the way that they did. That show touched your life in such a major way, and then since everything has ended, you get to go out every once in a while and see these things. It must have been fun for you to go and see Steve do his thing and feel a little piece of that again. I bet you a lot of feelings came up while you were watching that.
Rupert.
What?
He just said it was a lot of fun for you to go to the
Oh no,
experience.
yeah.
Now, that was the question, but I want you to expound afterward when a big group of us went across the street and how you felt about the people populating that group.
Right.
How you felt about the show to see Steve, and then about how we walked.
Your Honor, leading the witness.
I have to. He's not.
No.
He can't hear well.
Well, I'm doing.
Okay.
different
Yes.
things, yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, it was a wonderful show. I thought it was just going to be Steve, standing up there alone and just singing the songs which I've seen a couple of times. But it was very refreshing when he had the comedy acts and he added, he actually had a cast and who performed with Steve, and it was really funny. And after the show, we did congregate at a bar.
A group, big group.
Yeah, with his colleagues, and
just and fans too.
Yeah,
fans.
What was a lot of the cast? The
cast was there, but a lot of the fans of
and we got to them, and a wonderful bunch of people.
He loved them.
Yeah, we had some really good talks with them.
When we left, he just said, "I'm so impressed with the group of people. One who was paying, respects to Steve enthusiastically, and two, what seemingly cool people they were." And so I said to Steve later, I said, "Rupert's just really impressed with the folks he got to talk to."
And in a way, it's a reflection of Steve too.
Yes. There you go.
Yes.
I hope I don't cause jerks to gravitate toward me. So yeah, I think I've been lucky that a lot of really nice people have joined in either to help me out on stage, or in fact, not only did Irene come up from Florida, and maybe she was coming anyway, I don't know, but she came from Florida. Okay, but another friend of mine, a terrific guy who I met about 10 years ago, came from Philadelphia and really surprised me because I knew Irene was there, but I did not know my friend Ali was coming. So amazing show of support from people. So it was very sweet. And yes, hanging out after the show in a bar, having a drink with Rupert, and a part of my mind thought, if the Steve Young of 2015 could see what was happening in 2025, much of it would be confusing, but he would also say, well, this has got to be going great. Look, I'm hanging out and drinking with Rupert.
That crowd was a really nice crowd. And Rupert spoke for a long time with Ali, who, of course, Mr. Quiet. Tell him what Ali told you.
And they did think very highly of Steve.
What story did Ali tell you?
Oh, I was kind of surprised. He just knew everything about me. He even knew things about the deli and me.
But what he said about Steve, Ali talked to you.
Oh, he met Steve, briefly at the elevator one day at the El Sullivan Theater. And he was just in awe of Steve. He had a good talk. And Steve actually spent, I don't know if it was that day that he spoke with him for 3 hours, but he was just so grateful that Steve had the patience to teach him, the ropes of the trade.
3 hours.
Yeah, in 3 hours. And he's just so grateful to Steve for what he's done for him.
Well, he's whatever I offered him, he has repaid 100-fold at different points, helping me out and showing up in unlikely places. So uh, when you think of people like that, and you, Mike and Irene, I feel like if I'm gonna step out and do something, I better make sure that it's not half-assed because these people believe in me, and I gotta vindicate whatever they believe about me if I
But
can.
was not half-assed.
Oh yeah, no, not at
It
all.
was
Like,
it was yeah, easily 7/8 asked.
No, it was very
It,
impressive.
it seemed to me, and again, willing suspension of disbelief. You go in there, you've got your ticket, and you're already saying, I'm in. Whatever you throw at me. But I'm also kind of a sharp. You got to come back. Oh gosh. Okay. I'm also. I'm an observer. I'm a visual. I swear I did not see any freaking. And there was one tiny little glitch that happened, and Steve just buttered right over it.
oh, the
Yeah,
technical difficulties
I
part.
could tell you a list of 25 things that, oh, I hit one wrong note in this passage of this song, or I probably should have stood 2 feet over here instead, or we should have done this a little faster or whatever. But the bones of it, and friends of mine who know about such things felt like, okay, definitely it's on its feet, as the theater people say.
Absolutely. Yeah. To me, when you use the word beta, like, okay, you probably, I wouldn't be surprised at all to hear the idea that, okay, we're trying to figure this out and figure out, exactly, which buttons to push and which levers to pull at what times and all that sort of stuff. To me, watching what I watched, and I mean, again, I wasn't in the room. It was the live stream version of it, right? Yeah, there was that one little technical piece that he did just kind of, yeah, oh yeah, oh, a little bit of technical difficulty. Okay, here we
Yeah,
go. You know,
feedback during a song. We
yeah.
were
But
slow
I mean,
coming back from the intermission to get the uh, new cut and paste movies plugged in or whatever. But yeah, these were,
minimal, so
yeah,
minimal. I
Yeah.
have so many friends that I have watched workshop their projects. And this is not this what you presented was not that. Like, it was not even a dress rehearsal or anything. No, what you presented to me was polished. This is a thing already, and it was a fantastic thing. I loved it. And you do have, I mean, there's a quote that, oh man, I don't know if I'm okay. At some point, somebody has told me a quote about you that Dave said about you, and it was you having the voice of the show. If there was somebody who had the voice of the show, it would be Steve Young. And I'm being a little ambiguous, but I don't want to put out the quote and the circumstance and all that sort of stuff. But it was if there's one person who has the voice of the show,
Yep.
it's Steve Young. And your live show that you like, to me, all of the things that I love about Late Show, other than Dave, because I mean, obviously Dave brought a lot to it as well, but the show itself, I love the show itself. And there were so many echoes of that show and what I loved about that show in your live performance. Like, there was so much of it, Steve, and you do have that
Mhm.
charisma and that performer presence. I loved it so much. It was so good.
thanks.
Darren Cox said to me, he goes, "Oh, I feel terrible." Like, it's just like me. We both of us wish that funds were unlimited and we could jump on a plane and go to New York and see these things, live as they happen. But he went and saw you again in I think he was in Indianapolis not too long
Yeah,
ago, do the industrial musicals.
about 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. And he said the same thing. He goes, "This guy is a star. Like, he's a guy who loves to present
Yeah.
material, whatever it is, and it's so good, and I just want to watch it." I mean, you've got a lot of people who feel that way about you, man. So
Mike,
Uh,
sorry, Steve, 1 second. Help me with the reference that with this beta thing because I missed it somewhere.
a beta test is like Steve said the show was beta. A beta test is like my wife's app right now. He changed it, is still technically in the beta phase, even though hundreds of guys use it. it's still kind of in the beta phase before they like really launch it in a different way. A good example of that would have been like rehearsal shows of Late Show before anything actually aired. Those would kind of be a beta
I know, but
version of.
did Steve say this early on in our conversation?
Yeah, he said this is kind of a beta
Okay.
version of his show, and to me, it's way beyond that. But
But
I do understand though, from your perspective, all of the little tweaks that you're making and things like that. Like I do get that.
but
Do you like the idea of an ensemble, Steve? Like, are these ensemble performers? Were they people that just doing a favor for you? They'd never really performed together before, or
They had not. I don't. Kirsty had met Dave Adut, who had done a show at Caveat last year that we went to,
yeah,
and they're all just sort of cool people with different acting, comedy, music talents. And I thought, well, I'll see if I can pull together a few people here. And Evie is a great musical theater performer, and so that worked out great. If I were to say go to Los Angeles, I don't think I would fly all four of them out there. So I might have to
right,
pick up different people out there and press them into service. But to your point about the Letterman influence, I definitely, after decades of being steeped in that personality and that comedy ethos, very aware that when I was on stage doing my show, there was a huge part of Letterman-esque DNA shining through there. I think there was also a little bit of Chris Elliott, the sort of improperly overconfident, glib showbiz person.
yep,
Uh, I also love all the like Christopher Guest, Michael McKean stuff.
absolutely.
I don't know where that is in there, but yeah, different streams flowing in there, and with hopefully I get to have at least a little of my own personality in there. But yes, Letterman will be a huge, unavoidable, and very welcome component in
yeah,
anything
it's in
that
your
I'm doing.
bloodstream. It's in your bloodstream. But I do want to lodge a protest because sometimes Steve and I write him novels because I speak my text messages. So I'm just talking and that it comes out in print. And
Right. Apple actually asked me if there was a problem and said that this texter is sending too many words. Is there a problem? No.
oh my, I'm upset, but that interrupts my complaint, and I'm really, guess what? I don't know if the novels are ever gonna. All my friends already know if it comes from Irene, it's gonna be a freaking novel. But that's okay. But and my one good friend John Lulius, he goes, if you don't stop sending me these effing novels, call me and talk to me. But I'm protesting a little bit because I know that Alpha, Vita, Gamma, Delta in Greek, A, B, C, D.
Right.
So early in our exchanges, I told him that I'm too old to be intimidated now because he's smart and I'd be dumb. But I said
I be dumb is a great sentence. Anyway,
I'd be dumb and said, but I have my pluses and they usually are in the B minus category. So when I heard beta somewhere and I didn't catch where it was in your conversation with Steve, I went, that thief, he took my idea of B and said beta, and he's not beta. I'm beta, and sometimes I'm gamma, which is C. Steve is not beta, okay? Just so we're clear that. And he stole that beta idea from me. I'm not kidding.
well, now it's a new idea, and now
Right.
we've got a new controversy. That's excellent.
Thank you for the feedback.
hap-
We will note your complaint, and thank you again for reaching out.
I'm on hold.
What happens to the this is a silly little question. What happens to the ownership, like the video on demand? Okay, it's on there till Sunday and then it goes away. What happens to that video at that point? Do you still have it for archive? Are you able to use
I
it?
will, and maybe some excerpts of it could be put together into a sizzle reel to
Yep.
uh, try to tempt confused, distracted venues elsewhere. A friend of mine who did watch from afar from LA the other day immediately was saying, "Oh, are you going to come to LA with this show?" And I said, "Oh, well, maybe, I have friends in LA. I bet I could round up a few of them." And then she started giving me ideas for venues. So who knows? Phase two could start happening, but I'm still trying to get past the idea that this is a vanity project. And yes, my friends who already know me and like me are entertained, but will it have any traction beyond that? I think it would take a skillful producer and an enthusiastic venue and a robust campaign of some sort to get people in the door who are not already my friends.
There are people who do all of those things, Steve.
I
Yes, for,
told I
and
told him that.
I hope see it's been a delight for me to watch this kind of blossom over the last 3 years. 3 years ago we got connected, Steve. And it's been really really fun to watch this evolve. And it's funny, the idea that the universe calling your bluff, very evident in the idea that you think this might be a vanity project, when at the end of the day it feels like it's just been. I always talk about kind of my life in a series of lily pads, and I can put those lily pads to all sorts of different places, including this show. I've done it with this show as well. But the idea that you have all of these lily pads that have kind of come together and put all these things together. The idea that you haven't left the industrial musical stuff behind, but it's been a piece of this, the Letterman-esque. And again, I want to go back, like your personality. It's not your personality. You talk about, I hope a little bit of my personality is in the show. Your personality was in Late Show. That's the thing. Your personality shaped Late Show. It was actually, but the writer, and that's the the confounding part about this whole thing. The writers many times, SNL talked about this a lot over the last few months as they've done the SNL 50 hoopla and extravaganza all around that, have talked about the idea of the writer being kind of the silent hero in the background, but also sometimes the second class citizen, when really it's them and their personality that is shaping the show. Like, I honestly think that there is so much of your personality that was in Late Show, and it doesn't get talked about enough. So your personality was very, very, very evident in your show as well, because to me they're almost the same thing in those regards. I just want to be very, very clear about that. Like, your personality, I think one of the reasons why I have so much affection for you is your personality is such that you're like a walking Late Show in so many ways, with the stuff that the observances that you that you come up with. Like I would have given anything to be in that bar. When they announced it at the end of the show, okay, we're all going to, and was it an Irish bar that you went to?
yeah.
Oh,
Oh, Donnybrook, apparently it's
Donnie,
the go-to
Really,
hangout for caveat show people.
I'm
and
like,
really
of
nice.
course it is. There's no more McGee's, but okay, we're gonna go to Donnybrook. Like, oh my God. I wanted to be there so badly just because I love listening to your take on things. It's that personality.
Well, Mike also, and Rupert had commented on it, and he did say, "I'm glad Irene gets to talk because I prefer not." But we both, uh, we both recognized that Steve mingled with a lot of people whom I do not know, but you could tell that Steve was happy.
Aw. Is that true?
Yeah, and people asked me in the couple of weeks leading up to the show, people who knew I was getting ready to do it, "Are you excited?" And I said, "Well, in my waspy way of low key feeling, I will say I've gotten confident enough in the material and my ability to do it that I think it won't be terrible." And and In truth, yes. Sometimes I allowed myself to imagine like doing a song and doing a bit and doing a line and getting a big laugh and think, you got to visualize that
Mhm.
because once you have that in your mind is what you're aiming for, then your performance reaches toward it and you can get it.
Mhm.
So I dare to believe. And somebody asked me, I guess it was Evie, after the show, said, "Are you really proud?" And I said, "Well, like the Wordle song says, my nature is that I can only be tepid proud inside." But then I said, "No, I'm proud. No, it went well. I acknowledge that it went well. It was very fun and it was a great friendly room and everyone had it. I think of just a good time. And
Really.
this is one more lily pad or whatever. It's a new, I, as our friend Winston Churchill said, this is not the end or the beginning of the end, but it is the end of the beginning."
Oh, that's a low. I love. We're gonna finish the show right there.
Uh,
Rupert, Irene, any last words that you want to say before I hit stop? And
Yes, one last thing.
yes.
I did fly up expressly for Steve's show. He's getting the drift that I'm a nervous Nelly, so I want to make sure that I'm prepared for the summer. And the last preparation, Steve says, "Well, it's only November. You have time. You have time." I said, "No, no, I have to start getting nervous now."
Yep.
But we came up. Um, Rupert received a nice phone call, and we realized that just about 9 or 10 blocks, sorry, from here,
Mhm.
this lovely product
uh,
is on the shelf of a lovely bakery. It wasn't a deli, it was a bakery.
Uh-huh. Put it a little closer to the camera. That's the SAGG peanut butter.
Yes.
Yes.
I've been getting
And
all sorts of questions about the SAGG peanut butter. Let's do this.
it's okay. Comes creamy, comes crunchy. It's quite
it-
organic.
it's
Um,
SPF 70, which is very important for the summer.
it has SPF 70 in it. I would have never thought to mention it. I can't believe how his mind works. Okay. And but we're thinking of concoctions because this one immediately said, "Oh, we can make this such and such." And I said, "Well, as long as I can make my Thai peanut butter thing with this, because this will be great." But we were very happy because Walter and Nancy are. It's handmade, it's lovely.
Yeah, tastes great.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get a sponsorship from my show.
There you go. Oh, get in line, sir. SAGG peanut butter. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's proud sponsor of the Barbara Gaines show.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, I can get them in on my show, and like between songs, I just do it.
And careful, because when you do that, you can't squeeze. You shouldn't squeeze at all
I
because
know the oil separates. I'm fully aware. Yes, you got to.
SAGG peanut butter in the squeezable bottle. Make sure you don't squeeze it all. Where did you get it, Irene?
OR Washers is this bakery about 10 blocks
It's about 81st Street on Amsterdam Avenue.
on
Or
Amsterdam.
washers. That's right. I've heard of them. Or washers.
That's
Four
right.
washers. Okay, I think I need one for the set. I think I need to get one. And it's the origin of the product.
Just Nancy and Walter decided they loved peanut butter, and I guess they went in their kitchen and kept, tossing recipe around, and they came up with it, and they love peanut butter, evidently.
They were really angry one time and they just started smashing peanuts. And then at the end they said, "Oh, well, this is interesting." It turns out there had already been other people inventing peanut butter, and so they were a little late to that party, but they decided, well, I don't know, maybe we can still put it in a bottle. channel our rage and anger into a productive cause.
But
So yes,
it's
peanuts and salt. I looked at the ingredients on it. It is
that's
the
it.
classic, basic, no sweeteners, no preservatives, all that. It's the good stuff.
Oh,
He
that is the good stuff.
picked up on that when I handed him a bottle, and immediately, and I'd already looked at it. He goes, "Oh, peanuts and salt." That's it.
Yeah. It's almost as if, yeah, you can imagine how you don't need a giant industrial conglomerate to come up with this idea. It's the elemental peanut butter that if you're used to the stuff from the supermarket that's got sugar in it, this is better. I like this kind better.
Way better. Oh yeah. Yeah. Growing up, we always used to have our peanut butter in the fridge because it was the good stuff. Yeah, that's exactly right. I couldn't agree more. I can't wait to have a bottle of it. That's fantastic. Hey, thank you guys for taking some time out. We'll say our goodbye privately, but Steve, congratulations. Like really, man. Like all of us who are pulling for you are pulling hard, and I hope that broader audience shows up in a way that gives you the confidence to keep doing what you're doing sooner than later. And I'm really, really grateful to be part of this journey with you. I'm really, really happy for you, Steve.
Thank you. And my feeling is if I am hit by a falling piece of masonry next week, at least I'll have done this. And people will know that, oh yeah, he was doing new kinds of stuff. He wasn't just an oldies act.
That's right.
Same thing. So yeah, I'm just trying to do more, be more, try more.
But Mike, thank you for the surprise of Steve, because we had no clue.
Yeah.
Really? You had no idea. Actually, all right, before we finish, because you guys were like, okay, yeah, let's do a quick catch-up call, and yes, we'll get the camera, you can hit record and all that. You had no idea that I was gonna pull Steve in?
Not all.
All right, well, there you go. That's a little gift for you, Irene, and a little gift for you, Rupert, because I know how elated she's going to be for the rest of the day because of this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, Jesus. Wait, transferring call. All day long. But the thing is that I had written you and said, "Oh crap," except that I didn't say the word crap. That's okay, some language, but I said, my laptop and Rupert's laptop they're in Florida, and his big massive computer it's only for his stock market, and
boy, Rupert.
And it has
get her
done, and it has no camera. And I said, now what do I do? And you said, I'll just send you the link. We'll do it on the phone. Oh, okay. So wait, how do I do that? 20 minutes for me to figure that one out.
It worked just fine, buddy. We're
good.
I love y'all. Okay, so I'm gonna end the show here, and then I'll hit stop, and then we'll really say goodbye, and we'll really get out the dirt and the dish and stuff. That's the fun stuff. That's when we talk about the real stuff, everybody, when the camera's off. This has been another episode of the Letterman podcast. That is Irene Hoffman. That is Rupert Jee. That is Steve Young. My name is Mike Chisholm. Thank you, and good night.
And now, on the good old fictional country music show, here's Steve Young.
Thank you for calling the claims hotline. Please enter your case number.
When she said we're finished, my heart was feeling pain. At least my devastation would mean financial gain. I opened up my desk drawer, took out my policy. But now my heart's been broken twice by her and the company. Well, I had broken heart insurance, but the company went broke. They got an avalanche of claims from 1 million lonely folk. Oh, I still do love her, but I know that ship has sailed. Now both our relationship and my backup plan have failed.
Please wait while we retrieve your information.
Mutual Romantic gave me a good rate. I paid paid up all my premiums, never mailed them late. I wish I hadn't trusted big business or romance. Can't see how I'll ever give either one more chance.
We are unable to process your claim at this time.
Well, I got broken heart insurance, but the company can't pay. They still get a pile of claims every business day. My heart's broke, the company's broke, it's widespread misery. Financially, emotionally, we're all in bankruptcy.
We're sorry for your heartbreak. No further information is available. Goodbye.
Overcoat and underpants.